Scale drawings. This is the winter version, and this is a digital lesson. It's a lot of fun for the students, and it gives them some practice learning scale drawings and creating scale drawings, and they learn the vocabulary also. So it starts out explaining to the students what a scale drawing is, and then it gives them some vocabulary. Now they're going to need to know this vocabulary for the final slide, so they can always refer back to slide 3. They're going to start on slide 4. So they've got a grid here and they're going to create a scale drawing. So they start out with just a rectangle, which is pretty simple, and they're going to increase it by a scale factor of 2. And what that means is each of these units, so the side of 3 and 2, they're going to take those units and multiply by the scale factor, or multiply by 2. So that means their new figure is going to be 6 by 4. So to create the new drawing, they just click and hold in one of the squares that they want to color. They scroll across until they've completed a rectangle shape. So this one's 6 by 4. And then they're going to come up here to the fill color feature, and they can choose any color they like. And they've created now a scale drawing. So the other thing we're going to look at for each one of these is the perimeter. And we're going to see what happens to the perimeter when we scale up or scale down. So the perimeter of the smaller figure, if they count around the outside, they're going to get 10 units. So they type in a 10. The larger figure is going to be times the scale factor, which would be 20 units. So the new perimeter will be 2 times the perimeter of the smaller figure. Now they have a different shape. It's a little bit more difficult this time. This time they have a scale factor of 3. So again, they're going to click and hold. And they can only fill in a rectangle at a time. So they're going to start like this. Again, go up to the fill color feature. They're going to pick any color they like. And make sure that every side is multiplied by 3. So 6. And now they have a figure that's scaled up by a scale factor of 3. It's 3 times larger. So if you look at the perimeter of the smaller figure, we're going to get, again, 10 units. But if they count the perimeter of the larger figure, they're going to have 30 units, which means they took the perimeter of the smaller figure and they multiplied by the scale factor. The next one's a little bit more difficult. So let's see, let's start here. Scale factor of 3. And you might want to do this with the students if they have any trouble with this. And there, I need one more row down. And so this one is scaled up by a scale factor of 3. The perimeter, again, is going to be 12 this time, 12 units. And then they're just going to multiply by the scale factor, so the larger figure is going to be 36 units. Now, just as a review, the next slide is just a review. So when the scale factor is 2, the perimeter of the new figure will be 2 times the perimeter of the smaller figure. So they're just going to type in the word 2. And when the scale factor is 3, the perimeter of the new figure is 3 times the perimeter of the smaller figure. Just a little review to reinforce for the students. Now the next one, we're going to have a scale factor that's a fraction less than 1. So what that means is the new figure is going to be smaller. And so we're going to take each of the sides, we're going to count the units, and we're going to multiply again by the scale factor of 1/2, or divide by 2. So the new figure will be divided by 2. And they can pick any color they like. They can be creative. Some of my students even have more than one color, which is fine. And so they're going to have a smaller figure here that looks like this. Now the next one, we're not going to use the fill color feature. We're going to use these lines. We're going to use the line tool. So we're going to, again, reduce this figure because the scale factor is a fraction less than 1. So we're going to take each of these measurements and divide by 2. Now you might want to do this one with the students because this one's a little bit tricky. So these lines you can move. You just click and hold. You can move them where you like. If you click on these little blue circles, then you can move that line so it's a different orientation. So I would start at the bottom because that's the easiest. So if we're going to take the bottom measurement of 4 units and divide by 2, it's now 2 units. These sides are also 4 units. So again, if I divide by 2, it's going to be 2 units. So this part's not too hard. Just have the students play around with this. Some of them are going to have trouble with it. Some of them they're going to find it's easy and a lot of fun. So just see how your students do. So this measurement will be 1. Now, the trickiest part of this is getting the point of the arrow. So if you look at this, if you count from the bottom, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 units up from the bottom. So if you divide 8 by 2, you get 4. So this figure, we're just going to have the point right here, 4 units up from the bottom. And we just connect the 2 pieces. And there we have a scaled down version with scale factor of 1/2. Now the next thing we're going to do is look at area. What happens to the area when you change the size of a figure? So we're going to start with just an easy rectangle, or a square actually. So it's 3 by 3. If the scale factor is 2, it's now going to be 6 by 6. So they're just going to create a 6 by 6 square. Fill it in with the color. Now let's look at the area. So the area here in the smaller figure is 3 times 3 is 9 square units. The larger one is 36 square units. Now, how do we figure that out without actually figuring out the area? Well, the area is going to be the scale factor squared, the increase in area. So from the area of the smaller figure to the larger figure, we're going to multiply times the scale factor squared. 2 squared would be 4, so if we take 9 times 4, we get 36. I'm going to do the same thing with the next one. And then as just a little review, reinforcement, when the scale factor is 2, they're going to type in 2. The area of the new figure is 2 squared, or 4 times the figure area of the smaller figure. When the scale factor is 3, the area of the new figure is 3 to the second power, or 3 squared, 9 times the area of the smaller figure. So that's a little bit tricky, but it's an interesting something to teach the students. Now, when they get to the final slide, they've got this drag and drop vocabulary. And if you remember, they can refer back to slide 3. They need to remember what these words mean. And they're just going to drag and drop them into the correct place in the sentence frames. So a scale drawing, they're going to click on the edge, click and hold, and then they can move it right into place. And they're going to do that with all of these terms. So this is a good reinforcement of the vocabulary of scale. They get to the end, it tells them they did nice work. So this is a digital version of scale drawings, and it's winter themed.